Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I haven't made a video in such a long time. Now in this video, I'm going to be talking a bit about my experience working in an airport, how I found the job, how it was like, and what I was doing, and the pros and cons, and also a bit about my mental health and how it affected me. Okay, so basically, I remember this was about 2 years ago. I was unemployed at the time, obviously, because I was looking for a job. And I just left my other job. So I went through a break where I was just trying to look for a job, but I couldn't find one. But then I went to this place called Workplace, and they basically help you to find jobs quite quickly. And now this wasn't the normal job I'd normally go for because I have a marketing background, so me working in an airport wasn't kind of the ideal thing at first. But I thought, let me give it a shot because it sounds like fun. Okay, so went to the interview, obviously got it because I worked there, and yeah, this is where it all started. So my role was going to be working in an alcohol section. Now, given that I'd known not much about alcohol, it was quite overwhelming for me. But at the same time, I was willing to learn. I was willing to put in the effort, and it was a job that actually seems quite simple, but actually there was a lot to it. Because imagine you're in a busy place, you have like different types of customers there, people that just want to find something quite quickly, and you're kind of having to be polite, and you're having to, because they had this system where you'd train up and you'd have to say like the certain. Okay, so let me just explain it clearly. So you'd have to, when you was working in an airport and I was working in a duty free shop. So I won't name the company because yeah, I just won't. But I was working in the duty free section, and yeah, so I kind of needed to learn about where everything was. I remember there was new faces there. When I was there, actually, I think I was quite shy, and I think people were saying that I was quiet. But I remember there was this one girl there that actually is my friend still from the airport, and she was like kind of like the mother of the whole airport. So I spoke to her, and we really got along. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I was working really hard there. I remember though, there was like a lot of instances where you would see famous people there as well. I would actually act really normal because I don't think you should like, kind of give people that acknowledgement because they're obviously in the airport because they're on a flight. They're not here to say hi. So I kind of respected that. But yeah, so you'd obviously see people that are quite famous. It was quite a process actually getting into the building as well itself because when you're working in an airport, it's on high security. So you kind of need to make sure that you've got a pass. So they would give me a temporary pass at first, so I can get in. But then in the long term, you'd have to make sure that you can get like a permanent one so you can keep your role. Otherwise, you'd not be having a job. So that was another thing about working in an airport. And I was specifically working in a duty free shop, but working in an airport, you need a pass. And if you don't manage to get that pass, it can kind of like stop you from working. So that was kind of a con to it. But like, yeah, I remember also one of the perks was you'd get money off when you want to buy something. I mean, the thing about this shop that I was working in, a lot of the stuff was quite expensive, but with like I mean, it wasn't expensive, but if you went through like the wrong one, I feel like it wasn't like expensive, don't get me wrong. It wasn't expensive, but it was kind of like a lot of people at the airport would complain to me and they'll say, well, I can get this on Amazon for cheaper. And it kind of just made me think, oh, okay. But then it's kind of like different because people, I don't know how the process is, but that's just kind of how it is. And the prices, in my opinion, should have been a lot lower, but that's another story. Um, So yeah, you'd get like a lot of people talking to you in the airport, like customers, and yeah, it was quite a hectic schedule as well. I'd have to literally get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes to actually make my shift. Sometimes it would even require me to order an Uber so I can get there on time, because I feel like if I was running for a bus and I missed that bus, I'd have to literally walk all the way back and order a taxi or cab or whatever you can get. Um, so that was another con to the job. It required a lot. Like at first I was thinking, oh yeah, it'll just be like 9 to 5. No, it wasn't like that. Or you'd be working like whenever they say you're working, and you'd have no input like at all. Like you can argue and say, well, actually I want to work at this time. It wasn't like that. You couldn't pick and choose. No, no, no. They weren't having any of that. So yeah. Um, so yeah, I was working there. Then I started working in the watch section as well sometimes, because I had seen my peers working there, and sometimes they would have to go to the bathroom, so I'd have to like work there to kind of like. And I remember making a sale there actually, selling a watch for like over £1,000, and I was quite chuffed because I just did my best. Like I was going through the price and everything. I was allowing the person to wear the watch and kind of just doing my own thing really. But they have like as I said before, they have like a system where you're supposed to greet people a certain way. You're supposed to give people time. Like you're supposed to say, "Hey, how are you?" Make eye contact. Not actually. I think it's not, "Hey, how are you?" I think it's, "Hi, how can I help?" Or, "Can I help at all?" Or are you looking for a gift? Like there was certain key phrases that you'd have to keep saying on and on. Like throughout, you'd feel like a robot sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, and I felt a bit robotic there. I mean, a good thing about it is though, I actually at the time I was like, I remember doing like 20,000 steps in the airport a day, because it required a lot of moving around. And you'd also get to like try on some of the perfumes as well, like the testers, just to keep yourself, smelling good for the customers, and smelling good for yourself. So yeah, that was another thing. But yeah, I was working there, and I didn't really get to pick my hours. Um, and then it got to the point where I was having issues with staff members as well. So this particular place I was working at, they everyone was having a few issues with this staff member. Well, there was like a few there, and I just feel like I was unfairly treated, to the point where at one point I couldn't even go to them when I was at my lowest, because this is another thing now. So I was going through like health issues at the time, and I remember I was feeling tired at some points. I was literally shattered because it was requiring so much, and I was literally, I'm not gonna lie, the pay wasn't good at all. Like I'm like, I have to be honest, like for the skill set that I had, I was not being paid enough. And that's another thing. Like if you're gonna work in these environments, like, and you want to get a promotion, it's gonna take time, because they're not just gonna promote you straight away. They've got like to think about their finances, and it was very limited in terms of how I could progress. So that was another issue there. But yeah, back to how I was feeling my lowest. In short, I ended up quitting my job at the end, because it just became a bit too much. I felt like I was being targeted by members of the staff, to the point where it was bullying, and people just not treating me fairly. There's a lot of gossip as well, obviously, because you're around people, and people want to just make their time interesting. But sometimes interesting doesn't mean helping other people, or like taking into factor that that person might not want their name talked about. So I went through things like that there as well. It was just a standard thing really. But yeah, I just remember feeling really low, and then I ended up breaking down and crying in front of a manager and saying basically, I need to leave right now. And it got to that point. And I remember once as well, I was actually having a disagreement with a staff member, and I was talking to someone, and then she came in, and then she was gossiping with her. The staff member was gossiping with her friends, and literally smiling and finding it funny that I was crying, and it was like, well, this is what's happened, and you're dealing with it that way, like, no. So I had to prioritize my mental health in the end. But yeah, that's another story for another time. But yeah, working in the airport was just stress after a while. Like at first I thought this is gonna be good, like I'm gonna get so much training, I'm gonna be able to advance in my career. Working in an airport as well is like kind of all fancy and stuff, but you have to get rid of all those like you have to think about it realistically. Like you're working there from hours that could be from when you normally sleep in, you know? So that was another thing that I was just like, nah, I can't be doing that. But I did actually stay there for quite a long time, and did make some friends. I'm friends with like one of the people that I was still talk to right now. We're actually gym buddies, so you can imagine, like, I actually got a good friendship from working in those environments that weren't that appealing to me after I look back at it. But you know, working in an airport was stress, I think, for me. Yeah, so I think I've kind of talked about everything really. I mean, there was like training programs that you can do in terms of like learning how to greet people and stuff, and I found that really useful for customer service purposes. But in the long term, it didn't help me because I feel like it was just not the job for me. But yeah, I don't really know what to say now, but yeah, it was a journey, and yeah, obviously, like, I wouldn't change it for anything. Like, I had to do that job for a reason, because at the time I needed to make money, I needed to find something new to do, so that was like ideal for me. But in the long term, really got to like think, is this really for me? Because you have to ask these questions when you go to an interview. For any interview, for any job in any industry, you have to ask the questions that are relevant. And is it flexible? No. Is it financially stable for someone? Maybe. Depends where you're at. It depends, like, how your finances are, what you spend your money on. I mean, I found personally that when I was in the airport as well, I was spending lots of money on food that I could literally buy or make myself, but because were restrictions with bringing food in, I couldn't actually just bring food in. So that was another thing. But yeah, I just think working in the airport was just not for me at all. But yeah, I mean, I think it was that particular job, to be honest. Like, I think it was because it was having to make sure that every day you had enough shirts, you had enough, you were presentable, you were formal, you were on point, and yeah, but like it was a lot of requirements for something that you were not getting paid enough for, and yeah, that was just a big downfall for me. But like, at least I made friends, at least I was able to learn from it, and at least I was able to become a stronger person, because I look back at it now, and if I was there, I probably would have left a lot earlier, because I would have called out things a lot quicker. I'd have been like, that's not acceptable, you know, you can't talk to staff that way, blah 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 blah, because there was a lot of issues that I had working in that particular shop. But yeah, it actually makes me feel a bit sad, because obviously, thinking about it, just, yeah, I have a mix of emotions about it. But yeah, that's it really. I think we all need to find what it is that we want to do, but we have to be really sensible with how we go about it, you know. So yeah, that's my video anyway. That's my experience working in an airport. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you subscribe. I hope you liked the video if you enjoyed it as well. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask them to me. I might make a part 2 to this because I feel like I didn't go through as much detail as I wanted to do. But yeah, I definitely will probably make another video in maybe a month's time or so. But yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.